This is an absolutely catastrophic optics scenario for Nigel Farage because Nigel's going to have to do something real here. Rupert Lowe, by doing this, has shifted the blame of splitting the vote from himself and instead has placed it upon Nigel. If Nigel wants to refute these claims, then he is going to accept Rupert Lowe's proposal and he will merge, reform, and restore. The fusion dance will be complete. The Conservative Party will be completely annihilated, irrelevant, also redundant. In its place, an effective and efficient and dedicated and patriotic.
Basically, there's Labour and the Conservatives, two political parties in the UK that have dominated UK politics forever. But they failed Britain so badly that there's now a third political party called Reform. Then Farage, the leader of Reform, basically betrayed his base and said, oh, we're not going to do anything about, getting rid of all the migrants here. And so there is now a fourth political party in the UK called Restore Britain, the newest one. Reform is doing well in the polls. It's set to win next time, except Restore is getting more and more votes. It's taking away votes from Reform. And so there are accusations that this fourth political party, started by Rupert Lowe, is splitting the vote and might cost Reform its victory at the box office. This video deals with that. Like and subscribe.
Conservative Party, now known as Reform Restore UK. It will be Labour versus Restore Reform, the RR coalition. And I think Labour will lose embarrassingly. Nigel's here. So we have a bit of a Piccolo Goku situation going on with Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe. I'm going to tell you what it is. Rupert Lowe has offered a deal with conditions to Nigel Farage to unite together and destroy the establishment. So, one of two things. We're going to find out exactly how big Nigel Farage's ego actually is, okay? Secondly, we're going to find out exactly how dedicated Nigel Farage is to saving the UK and destroying...
For context, here's a chart. See, Restore Britain right there is this new one, and Reform is right here. It's doing very well, but Restore, for a party that's been started, I think, maybe just a year now? A year-old party having 10% of the vote? That's huge. And that's going to continue to grow at the expense of Reform. And if it grows enough, the Greens could win. So that is what this video is addressing.
Destroying the establishment. He's being provided with an opportunity to really show that he's against the establishment, that it's not about reform, it's not about Nigel, it's not about getting votes or whatever, looking really good or all that kind of crap. What it's actually about is reclaiming England. It's about reclamation. It's about restoring Britain to its former glory by making it ethnically homogenous through epic amounts of remigration. Nigel Farage...
Epic amounts! He definitely put a lot of emphasis on that.
Has been provided an opportunity to show everybody that it's not about Nige and that he really is trying to dedicate himself to saving Britain. Now, unfortunately, as someone in the chat just pointed out, which I was going to get to anyway, Nigel Farage has shown repeatedly through working with people like Zia Yusuf, this does not really gel that well with Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain, which is ethnically homogenous, which is...
Take that back about this guy's makeup is worse than Trump's. White is a lot better than orange. I mean, that's one thing about Trump that I've always thought is he is too orange, honestly. Of course, the media put filters on him to make him even more orange. But even when there isn't the filters, he should be less tan than he is. Maybe play less golf.
Which is beautiful. Now, straight up top, I think the biggest contention anyone in the chat should have is the fact that Nigel Farage already snaked Rupert Lowe. For those of you who don't know, Rupert Lowe and Nigel actually used to be part of Reform Britain together. Before Nigel Farage dobbed on Rupert Lowe to the police about some alleged behavior that happened within the Reform Council walls. accusing him of inappropriate language, inappropriate behavior, and violent behavior towards Zia Yusuf, typically revolving around things like guns or physical fisticuffs, as they call it. On top of that, within the same week, I believe, Rupert Lowe's house was raided by the police, and all of his legally owned weaponry was seized by the state and were held by the police.
Yes, Rupert Lowe, the one who founded Restore Britain. He was betrayed by Farage, the leader of Reform.
Rupert Lowe believes this to have been Nigel Farage that tipped off the police. So, Rupert Lowe was already betrayed by Nigel. Most likely because Rupert Lowe was walking around the offices of Reform saying things like millions must...
That's the problem with democracy in the West. It's so often no one to vote for. You have Labour and the Tories, Conservatives, that have completely failed Britain, so you can't vote for them. Then you have Reform that presented itself as a solution. Then it betrays everything it believes in and starts being like pro-mass migration. And now you have the all four top parties are basically pro-migration. Oh, Farage might make some token steps to stop it, but he basically sold out. It's such a mess.
Go. And Nigel didn't like that.
And Rupert Lowe, what he's going to do in this video is his attempt to solve this.
Probably. Despite this, in Rupert's mind, in Rupert's world, this is petty squabbling in comparison to saving the UK. Rupert Lowe can put that aside. He can let water flow under the bridge, proverbially, and he can instead put the differences aside and unite to conquer the establishment, to defeat and destroy the establishment, replace it instead with people that actually like the UK? Or is this about Nige? Because quite frankly, both Restore and Reform are supposedly rooting...
If they did join together, Restore and Reform, that's 35%. That would be a mountain compared to every other political party. It would put them in an excellent place in Parliament.
For the same thing. They're both striving for the same thing. Except Restore seems to be a little more dedicated and a little more transparent about these kinds of things, a little more forthcoming with the language. Reform, not so much. We're also going to find out what these conditions are that Rupert Lowe was talking about. Look at his little face. Isn't he adorable? The Greater Manchester results show what Restore Britain can deliver. They did do pretty well. The next step is how we maximize the chances of delivering the change Britain needs. It means putting personal differences aside. This is desperation at the prospect of not having enough votes or splitting the vote, which they have been accused of doing, and losing the 2029 general election that is coming up here in the UK, the next Prime Minister. And I think Rupert Lowe also knows that we have approximately 3 years to make some significant change. And if we don't, then we have members of Parliament advocating for first cousin marriages in the UK, which, by the way, you can still do. You can still marry your first cousin.
Nigel, when we were both elected at the general election in July 2024, the five of us all knew that we had achieved something truly remarkable through starting the process of breaking the two-party system that has strangled and suffocated Britain for so very long.
I believe he's talking about the formation of Reform Britain, or Reform UK. This is also prior to Nigel Rupert over, so we'll find out if he brings that up.
It was a special moment.
Camera 2!
And it was an honor to walk into that building as part of our group of 5 MPs. I treasured that then, and despite everything, I still treasure it today. However, now...
This guy was part of Reform before he was betrayed. And he has fond memories of the time before the betrayal.
2026, we're in a very different place. The landscape has changed dramatically. Our differences over the last 18 months are well documented. I do not agree with how you remove me from Reform, but let's not recycle those same arguments again and again. I want to move past that. The country we both love is changing beyond recognition. Millions of people feel like strangers in their own communities.
I think it's amazing that there are videos of a main street in London and not a single white person there. Almost a conquered land.
They work hard, pay their taxes, obey the law, and yet they see no fair reward for any of that. They see a patriotic right hopelessly divided. They see hard work punished and indolence rewarded.
If Nigel Farage refuses this olive branch, it's going to make Nigel and Reform look real bad. And it's going to make Rupert Lowe look real good. Because Rupert...
Yep, it might drive... The goal, I think, of this is it's actually an olive branch. It is an offer to combine the two. But if it's rejected, then it's war. And Restore is going to try to cannibalize Reform supporters, since Reform supporters that find out about Restore, the majority of them probably would switch.
Rupert Lowe was and has been accused of splitting the vote by creating Restore separate from Reform. Okay, he has been accused of splitting the vote, an accusation that honestly is fruitless. It leads nowhere other than further dividing people. So Rupert Lowe here is pretty much going to be putting the ball in Nigel's court. Oh, you accused me of splitting the vote? Well, here I am trying to unite the votes. So let's see what Nigel says about it.
That is why today I'm reaching out to put personalities and our past disagreements aside for the good of the country we all so want to succeed. To ask one simple question: how can we restore Britain? If we agree on 5 fundamental principles, then I believe we can, should, and must find a way of working together in some form to make it a reality. Reform has taken a path that has moved its core offering away from what I believe is necessary to restore our country. On many issues, we agree. On others, we do not. But I'm hopeful that a common way forward can be found and forged. But any agreement or cooperation must be based on the following values, policies, and vision.
Here we go. Here are the 5 principles on which the...
So, if Farage accepts these 5 principles, then the Reform and Restore can merge. What will he do? Yeah, what's funny is the five principles he proposes are what Farage used to believe in until he sold out.
coalition, the fusion dance revolves around, depends on, no matter the other differences that they have, and the history that they have, as long as they can agree on these 5 basic principles, these 5 fundamentals of restoring the UK, then the fusion dance will be a success, and Gogeta will save United Kingdom. What would it be? It'd be Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage. Hell yeah. Nigel Farage. Let's go.
First, restoring our borders. Ending mass immigration is not enough. The hour is just too late for that. It
Agreed.
must be reversed. As you know, Restore Britain has taken the unprecedented step of publishing the most comprehensive deportation policy ever produced in British politics. That plan must be...
It's pretty good. You can read it. It's on the Restore Britain website. All of their policies are on there. All of their proposals are on there. It's very good.
implemented in full and to the...
I believe it's more than what Nigel has, actually. I believe it's more than he has. See, Rupert wrote this down. His pen caught fire as he did it.
letter. Every illegal migrant
Yeah, it's great when politicians do this. Just make clear what they stand for.
must be deported, and yes, that must include women and children. Our plan has outlined exactly how that can be achieved within one parliament. You previously stated that...
If this comes past, if he ever gets into power, he's going to show how Trump to do deportations right. Because, oh my God, he's going to need to move a lot of people out of the country.
Mass deportations are a political impossibility.
And that's exactly where people stopped wanting to vote for reform, by the way. It was right there. Nigel did say that in an interview. Reform initially was like, we're going to deport everybody. Remigration was going to happen. And then when Nigel was interviewed about it, he was like, yeah, well, now that I'm an MP and stuff, yeah, we can't do that. That's impossible. There's no way we can do that. And a lot of people have accused Rupert Lowe of splitting the vote. I disagree. it was Nigel who split the vote whenever he...
Agreed. He pushed Brexit, and people voted Brexit to control migration. He was for controlling migration in the United States. That's what he was at the time of Brexit. And apparently he's sold out since then.
failed to commit to remigration. That's when it started. That's when the votes started to split. There were people who had lost the desire to vote after they heard that, the very same people who are now voting for Restore.
Not only must mass deportations become a political possibility, mass deportations must become a political inevitability.
Love it.
They must all go. Legal immigration has caused even more damage. Restore Britain's policy is simple but sound. If a foreign national is living in Britain, yet unable to speak English, refuses to work, lives in social housing,
Why are they in the country if all this is true?
hates our way of life, or even wants to do us harm, they have abused our generosity, are incompatible with our high trust society, and they should be made to return to their own countries.
Could it be any more concise than that? If any one of us were unsure of the kinds of things that Rupert Lowe was hoping to achieve, if there was any ambiguity about what was really trying to be achieved here, let that single point right there that he made, let that guide you to the voting office. Remember, guys, voting doesn't work, right? None of this is real. Well, how about we just give it one more big college try, shall we? But let's not think for a second that the man who was able to create a coherent and cohesive policy on remigration and strong borders, the man who had the determination to create his own political party in the face of being ratted out or...
Rupert Lowe recently went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he's got a lot of exposure that way. Yeah, his Restore Britain party has been covered by political streamers like Asmongold. It's getting a lot of attention. It's growing.
or turned on by Farage, the man who had the tenacity, the determination, the resilience to create something like the gang inquiry, despite all of its hindrances. A man like this, you only have a over once. He is going to have his head on a swivel, I bet, and he's going to have people surrounding him that have Rupert's best interest at heart. So if he does get back into a coalition with Nigel Farage, Nigel will not have a chance to him over a second time.
There will be those in reform who do not agree with the robust nature
Zia Yusuf?
of such measures.
Zia Yusuf.
But I believe it is entirely necessary. Millions must go. Second, restoring our demographic security. It is projected.
Is this white preservation we're talking about? Is Rupert Lowe about to describe in so many words, 14 words?
You have a person has the right to expect that their kids and grandkids will grow up in the same country they did. They're not a radically changed country in terms of religion and people.
White
He is. Don't let the ADL hear this. Oh my God.
Britons will become a minority by 2063. Nothing demonstrates the demographic vandalism of mass immigration.
There is no ambiguity left, everyone.
Yep.
It is dispelled entirely. Rupert Lowe's second fundamental that he is proposing to Nigel Farage to agree on is the 14 words about preserving white people, securing the existence of our people and a future for white children, all that good stuff that the ADL...
Well, preserving the people preserves their culture by default. So I agree I put on Snail.
despise. This is absolutely amazing. This is amazing! Rupert Lowe is literally is sitting before us right here in a lovely blue shirt, explaining to us the importance of the 14 words.
More than that, importing millions of people from third world nations is changing our population.
Against the will of the people. Throughout, while all this was happening, all these migrants coming in, poll after poll showed the vast majority of Britons were against this. That's the reason British people voted for Brexit. They wanted to control migration. And as part of the EU, they couldn't control migration. So they said, okay, we'll take the economic hit, but at least we'll be able to control inflation. And then they were betrayed by the Tories, who did nothing to stop people from coming in. And they were betrayed so badly that next elections, they did not vote for the Tories. And so Labour won by default. Just because, I mean, what purpose do the Tories serve if they're not going to control mass migration? How are they different from Labour? They aren't. They are the same party. support Ukraine, let unlimited people in. That is the establishment in the UK, and there's no difference between the Tories and Labour on that. That's where reform came in. It was supposed to be the solution. Then Farage betrayed Rupert Lowe, and he gave an interview saying, oh, it's impossible to do mass deportations, basically becoming another establishment party like Labour and Tories. An establishment party in sheep's clothing that still pretends to be reform but isn't. There's not going to be anything different. He's not going to stop the mass migration, the endless money just given to house foreigners. And Rupert Lowe is proposing to merge the parties, to go back to what reform was originally supposed to be. And if reform refuses this, I'm sure Rupert Lowe intends to take reform down. Refusing this offer to merge will make Farage and reform look terrible, will cost them support, and by the time of the next election, it's going to be Restore will be above reform.
In a way none of us ever wanted or voted to support. It is unacceptable, and it cannot be allowed to happen. We must be unafraid to grasp that nettle. However painful the establishment backlash may be, Restore Britain has committed to reversing the Islamification of Britain, and that will not change. The level of influence that Islam is exerting, even now, on our Christian way of life.
Not just Islam.
There should not be 85 different Sharia courts in the UK.
There's a certain other group of people within the UK who just got their hands on nearly $500 million taxpayer dollars.
Can you guess who?
It wasn't the Muslims. In fact, it's a smaller demographic than the Muslims. Do you know who it was? They make up about 0.2 to 0.5% of the UK's population.
Wonder who it is.
Last 5 years have received about £500 million of taxpayer money. And it wasn't Muslims. Do you know who it was? He knows who they were.
Is unacceptable.
I know who they are. If you think about it, I'm sure you can figure it out too.
Any future cooperation must include the banning of both halal and kosher slaughter.
Ooh, that dog whistle is awfully loud, isn't it? Loud and...
I think that is actually a very good litmus test. If someone is so religious that they need kosher or food prepared in a certain way for their religion, they're religious enough to want Sharia courts, to want to change Britain. So if you get rid of anyone who needs kosher food, if they're secular enough to not need special religious stuff like that, they'll be able to adapt to Britain a lot better and fit in.
Clear, Rupert. And I'm fully on board, fella. Read between the lines, folks. Halal and kosher. Rupert Lowe knows exactly who received nearly $500 million taxpayer money. And if you think it's just as shallow as cutting down or banning kosher food, you're dead wrong. It's deeper than that. It's a message.
The burqa, cousin marriage, mass dominating public Islamic prayer, Sharia courts,
Councils.
any other.
Yes, the West went through a long process of ridding itself from having religion dominate public life. There used to be public prayer on part of Christians too, you know. Church bells used to ring at obnoxious hours to remind people it's time to pray, just like the call to prayers on part of Islam today. And the West, modern West in general said, yeah, we don't want that. We want to be able to work and sleep without loud church bells bothering us. Well, having Islamic calls to prayers, like going around with a megaphone in Muslim communities, calling people, oh, it's time to pray. That's just as obnoxious as the church bells. And we don't want to bring that type of stuff back. And maybe the church would start competing and ringing their church bells. Oh, it'd become awful.
Sharia councils.
Barbaric foreign practices that have no place in our high trust society. Britain is a Christian country.
Yes.
And we must ensure it remains that way. If we cannot
Deus vult.
agree on that, then there is simply no way forward. The recommendations from our independent gang inquiry must be implemented in full. That includes the deportation of foreign national accomplices who were aware of these heinous crimes and yet failed to act. I know
Agreed.
you have publicly disagreed, and that this was the source of our previous difference of opinion, but it is a firm red line.
It's 100% correct. And as the years go by, I know Farage can see that very clearly, that that is the problem.
And denaturalize too. Send them back and denaturalize them at the same time.
And that is the issue. The gang inquiry came out long after the coalition between Nigel and Rupert had dissolved. I feel like it offers a fresh perspective for Nige. Don't you think? He's 100% talking to Farage voters. Well, here's the thing. If Farage declines this olive branch to unify, reform, and restore, and essentially turning reform into restore, okay, it's not the other way around. Rupert Lowe is the one who has these 5 fundamentals that Nigel must agree on. And these 5 fundamentals are the 5 pillars that hold up the ideologies of restore. Reform will be absorbed into restore. Reform will become restore. Whether Nigel's ego...
Exactly. Reform will become restore. These 5 points are what the voters of Restore Britain care about. So if reform adopts them, yep, it will become reform in the ways that matter.
Handle that, we will find out. But I think either way, Rupert Lowe right here has potentially won over a fair amount of Nigel's voters. Because if he's not talking to Nigel here, then he's talking to his voters instead. If Nigel refuses to listen, then Nigel's voters will.
If a Pakistani woman
Exactly.
knew her husband was repeatedly ganged a vulnerable white English girl...
Did you see that? Did you see the subtitles there? They have capitalized
He did it earlier too, I noticed.
white. I love how many dog whistles are in this. I really do. White with a capital W. God, the ADL must be sweating here.
white English girl, yet failed to act, she should be sent back to Pakistan. I hope her husband is not so fortunate.
Oh!
And on that, third, a referendum on restoring the death penalty.
Yes, Axel Rudikabana, you're going in the blender. You're going in the blender! Do you know what he's done since he was placed in prison? Almost every single day since he was put in prison for 3 young white girls going to a dance class for Taylor Swift, right? He has been attacking staff. He's been assaulting nurses. He's been attacking guards. And he's had to be moved into Broadmoor, a psychiatric unit.
Yes, that's what people don't understand. These crazy people. Yes, he murdered 3 young girls, which is absolutely awful. But then he's still hurting people afterwards. Because there's no death penalty. He's going to be hurting people for the rest of his life, even if he's kept behind bars. And it's going to cost a fortune. An absolute fortune.
In order to be analyzed, diagnosed, treated, because he's that much of a animal. He can't stop it. The death penalty is for people like Axel Rudikabana. The death penalty is also entirely necessary in a country that has this many despicable...
Britain could have afforded to get rid of the death penalty. Once it was a first world nation, once it was a high trust society. But you import the third world into your country. You can't afford to put all people that commit crimes in jail anymore. Especially the heinous crimes like this. It just becomes too expensive. There's too many criminals. It'll bankrupt the nation. You need death penalty. For the worst of the worst, the ones who absolutely deserve to die, they're absolutely irredeemable. That's the other problem. Is in a high trust society, like monsters that go and kill 3 young girls, there are a lot less of them. In the third world, you start having a lot more monsters.
Foreign nationals whose own countries have the death penalty because of how they behave. It's the only thing they understand. Rupert Lowe knows this.
Axel Rudikabana.
Right there. Right there. Axel Rudikabana. This guy should not be breathing. Are you serious? 3 adorable little girls going to a dance class that was Taylor Swift themed because they just love Taylor Swift. It is the saddest, most upsetting, and emotionally disturbing story I've ever heard in my life. And the guy that did it has no remorse for doing it and is continuing to be a nuisance.
Hashim Abedi, Shabir Ahmed. Keeping these monsters
One of those is the guy that Queen Broadhurst, I believe.
alive, and hundreds just like them, achieves nothing. The British people must be given a full, free, and fair referendum on the reintroduction of the death penalty for the
Absolutely.
most monstrous and undeniable criminals.
You want to create a hostile environment that incentivizes these third worlders to not come here again? Death penalty actually is how you do that. It's
I don't think the death penalty is that big of a deterrent. Because people committing horrible crimes, they're not thinking long term anyway, or in terms of consequences anyway. To me, it's just the optics, the unfairness of this guy who killed 3 young girls, and now the British government is going to pay millions and millions and millions of pounds to keep that guy alive for the rest of his life. Because kill 3 young girls, there's no way you can release that guy again. Especially when now he has a history of attacking the staff, the nurses, and anyone who deals with him. He's never going to be released. So you're talking just millions and millions of pounds going to house, take care of, feed this killer, that unremorseful killer of young girls. There are better ways to spend your money. Britain should not have... It's already suffered by losing those 3 young girls. It should not have to suffer for paying for this guy to live for the rest of his life in relative luxury.
It's not removing benefits or whatever.
And I say relative luxury, go look up at what UK prisons look like. They're like, they're about equal to most hotel rooms.
It's giving them genuine, actual, real consequences for their abhorrent behavior. Removing benefits, pulling mosques down, removing halal meat, this is not a hostile environment. Death penalty, however, the prospect of it, that is.
You have opposed this previously, and that is why letting the British people decide is the right thing to do. I will, in that referendum, without a shadow of a doubt, be voting in favour. 4th, restoring a self-sufficient Britain.
Economy.
Britain must live within its means. That means controlling spending,
Economy.
cutting welfare costs, and making difficult decisions to bring inflation under...
Like, for example, stop the endless support for Ukraine, get cheap Russian gas and oil and energy. That would be a great place to start. Because why should Britain care what happens to an ultra-nationalist government in Ukraine?
under control.
As Rupert Lowe had already proposed, remigration would fund itself because there is going to be literally millions of people no longer taking taxpayer money, okay? The taxpayer money that they are currently using to live a comfortable life where they get to breed all day.
And restore sound public finances. It means a Britain that can power itself, feed itself, defend itself. Restore Britain's uniquely comprehensive policy papers are already addressing these challenges. To fund that, enormous cuts must be made. These choices will not
BBC, cut the BBC, all funding to BBC, please, please, please.
always be popular, but we must be prepared to think in generations, not just election cycles. Governed by what is right for Britain, not for what will simply result in better polling. Difficult, unpopular decisions are now required. Not short-term politicking, but long-term, hard planning.
Do you think he's forgotten he's talking to Nigel Farage here? Farage is all about the week to week, how can I look good this week kind of behavior.
That's true. It explains why he's flip-flopped on the most important of issues.
That will ensure we leave a better Britain to our grandchildren than the one that was handed to us. 5th,
And final.
restoring the country's faith in politics. The British people have entirely lost faith in Westminster.
They sure have. People have been expressing their malaise, just dissatisfaction, and their lack of desire or motivation to vote. Because where does it go? What really happens? As long as the Fabian Society are there, as long as the mainstream media is leftist coded, as long as the Labour Party have a series of parallel organizations to maintain the public thinking, Labour will always win. So how about we show the voter that voting still works?
That trust will not be restored by recycling the same ministers, advisors, and thinking that created today's problems. Former Conservative ministers who failed our country and our people in so many appalling ways must not be part of any future cabinet.
Amen.
That's a lot of reform, guy. That's a lot of them gone, right?
Oh, he's suggesting reform to the Reform Party. Very appropriate.
I mean, technically, that's Nigel gone too. Actually, no, Nigel did the Brexit thing. He did try.
They had their chance.
Yes, Farage did good in pushing Brexit. That's why it's so sad what he's become.
And they failed us all. That must not be rewarded with a second opportunity. These principles of restoration will be offered to the British people on the ballot paper at the next general election, with or without your cooperation. My sole aim through Restore Britain is the implementation of a properly considered policy programme that will start the process of desperately needed restoration for our once great country. I do not care how that is done. I only care that it is done. So, Nigel, my message is simple. If you are prepared to work together around serious policies, serious reform,
Slow zoom.
and serious government, then so
Yes, it is a slow zoom.
are we.
Very, very
Not
slow
because it's
zoom.
politically convenient for Restore Britain, not because it's personally easy. After the events of the last 18 months, I would certainly rather not be making this offer. But millions and millions of British people deserve a patriotic government that puts our national interest before any personal differences that you and I may have.
Yes, in the ideal world, Restore and Reform do join together and win in a landslide in the next election in the UK.
And that's what's important, isn't it? Is there's still going to be people out there that are going to denounce this. Like, nah, still won't work. Will it? Yeah, not with that attitude, it won't.
If you disagree, that is your choice. Restore Britain will be ready for what comes regardless. I truly believe there could be sufficient common ground for our two movements to cooperate collectively, destroy the looming left-wing alliance that will finish off what hope remains for this country. We have recently shown how effectively cooperation can work, locally on the Norfolk County Council. So why not at national level? In my view, failing to even try, because of our own personal difficulties, is simply not an option. The British people deserve nothing less than our best and sincere efforts to make it happen. Now is the time to put our differences aside and cooperate for the good of the country that we all love.
Yeah, that was something. And just to give you an idea of reaction to this, you have Farage has left the door open. He hasn't really responded. He said, "I'll get back to you," and he hasn't gotten back to Lowe yet. So we don't know, but there are all types of stories like Rupert Lowe could force reform U-turn on death penalty. Restore leader accuses Farage of outright lying over PAC offer, but says his party remains open as it happens. Okay. Of course, the mainstream media is trying to torch this potential union. It would be the best case scenario is that Restore and Reform completely splits the vote next election. Half and half. If both get 18% or something, then maybe Green and Labour could sneak in and form another government. I don't think that'll happen. I think either they'll combine or Restore will overtake Reform. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye.